Welcome back to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Brundi, the regular season is done and over with. Every game has been played for all 32 teams in the league, and the playoffs already start tomorrow. It really came up on us quick, but this episode, we're going to be spending the entire episode talking about the playoffs and what we think is going to happen, our predictions for the cup winner for the entire first round. It's going to be a good time. We're going to be breaking those down a lot. And then in probably our next or one of our upcoming episodes, we'll cover kind of everything that happened at the end of the season, some of the awards that get locked up after game 82, all that stuff. So with that being said, I'm going to throw it to you. Let's jump right into it. Which series do you want to start with in the first round?
Well, before we get into that, like you said, we're only covering the first round matchups in this episode, and at the very end, we will give our predictions for who we think will meet in the cup final and who we have as our cup winner. If you want to know who we've got winning in the second, third round, all that kind of stuff, you can go over to any of our socials. We will have our official brackets on there for you to view. But with that, I'll pick the series. But where do you want to start? Do you want to start in the East or in the West?
Let's start out in the West.
Let's start in the West. All right. Well, let's kick it off. Then we'll start off with the Pacific matchups, and then we'll move over to the Central. So we'll start off with the Pacific winning Vegas Golden Knights going up against the wild card team, the Minnesota Wild. So I've already got my predictions made up, locked up, done here. You are kind of, for this episode, you are doing yours on the fly. So I will ask you, Vegas, Minnesota. Vegas did win the season series 2-1. They are the home team in the series. Who do you have winning this series? And in how many games?
Yeah, and I got to imagine they are the heavy favorite by most people. I would love to see Minnesota go on some sort of run, especially this being Marc-Andre Fleury's last season in the NHL, and they just really had to scratch and claw to get here. They got here because of such a strong start in Minnesota, and throughout the season they've been falling off, and most of that due to injury. Like, they just got Kirill Kaprizov and Eriksson Ek back, but I just can't see them beating this Vegas squad. This Vegas squad is so nasty. Like, they are just so deep. Their defense is insane. Like, this is just a crazy Vegas team. And on top of all that, they added, on top of how good their team was, they just randomly added a 30-goal scorer in Pavel Dorofeyev. Just kind of out of nowhere. So it's really hard for me to not pick Vegas. I'll say Minnesota pushes it to a 6-game series.
So you've got Vegas in 6?
I got Vegas in 6.
Okay, so I originally had Vegas in 6, but there's always an upset. There's always at least one big upset, and I think it's here. I have Minnesota in 7. I switched it up last second.
Damn.
Really, for me, there's not a lot to go off of. This is more of a heart over a head pick. Vegas is coming in with the second best power play in the league. Minnesota has the 30th penalty kill in the league. So Minnesota really can't take penalties. But again, it goes back to what you said before, Minnesota making it because of the good start to the regular season that they had. When the season was going, they were one of the best teams in the league. Kaprizov, prior to injury, was looking like a guy who was going to be a Hart finalist, potentially even win the Hart Trophy this year.
I think he was the front runner at the moment when he went down.
I think so for a fair bit, yeah. And so, the team's, a team that was riddled with injuries, pretty much fully healthy now going into the playoffs. And I think the potential X factor is if Zeev Boehm ends up playing for Minnesota. I think he can come in and be exactly, I think, what Minnesota's looking for. I don't think you need to go crazy and, play him a bunch 5-on-5 when you've got so many other guys. But I think the biggest part for him is on that power play. I think he is such a dynamic offensive player as a defenseman, and I think he can really help Minnesota's power play shine a bit more, especially against a Vegas penalty kill that's not much better than Minnesota's. Um, so again, really not much stats to back it up on here, but there's usually always at least one upset in the first round, and I think if there
Yeah.
is, I mean, maybe I have another one or two. But this is one of those ones where again, this Vegas team is so good. Like they are, we thought they're going to take a step back, clearly didn't, and they could easily steamroll this Minnesota team in four, like very easily could. Um, but again, this Minnesota team's healthy, and when they're healthy, we've seen what they are capable of. So
Yeah.
I'm going with Minnesota in 7.
Hey, I love to hear it, man. I'd love to see it as well. Um, do we know the goaltending situation in Vegas? I'm looking around, and all their projected goaltender lineups are Akira Schmidt and Ilya Samsonov. Is that just because for the game 82 they sat Hill and got him rest, or is he injured? Because I'm not
I
seeing him on any
believe,
injured lists.
yeah, it shows Aiden Hill's healthy and fine. So yeah, it's probably just because he didn't
Right.
suit up for their last 1 or 2 games or whatever. Just rest him. He already had top of the Pacific locked up. He couldn't win the Presidents, so let him rest up. And you know, anytime Aiden Hill has been in the playoffs, he's excelled. So healthy and he's going to be a big thing for Vegas as well.
Yeah. So
Minnesota as
that
well.
was the one spot I thought they might have the X factor in if Hill wasn't ready, but I would love to see Minnesota take him out, but I don't think this Vegas team is one of the teams that's going to get upset.
Yeah, and not a lot of people want to say it because they like Minnesota and they don't really like Toronto. The Minnesota Wild are the Toronto Maple Leafs of the West. They always have a good or at least decent regular season, and this is a team that, despite the numerous amount of talent they've had over recent years, can't get out of the first round.
I
You go back to I think it was
I get what you mean.
2015 or 2016. It's either they just miss out on the playoffs or they're just constantly out in the first round every year.
Yeah. I would almost sooner say they're like the Carolina Hurricanes of the West, but in the first round instead of the second or third. Just because saying somebody comparing somebody to Toronto comes with so much extra crap. because
Yeah, that's what
because
I'm
it's
saying. I
Toronto,
think
but
they're going to get over
I
the hump
agree.
this year. I think they're going to get over the hump this year. I think Minnesota's finally
Which
going
would
to
be a
win.
year early, really. Like, who could have predicted they'd be this good this year? Like, I
Yeah.
think we both had it as a hot take that they were making the playoffs in our
Mhm.
preseason predictions because this team still has like a 14 and a half, $15 million
15
tied
mil.
up in nobody playing for them because of
Yeah.
the the Zach Parise and Ryan Suter contracts. So,
Yeah, those buyouts.
and that all
Mm.
comes off the books this offseason. They could sign Mitch Marner and gain cap space.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so the fact that they're
they'll be
here
a
is already pretty.
competitor next year, especially
Yeah.
with Bium coming into the lineup. But
Um,
you know what? I love your pick, and I would love to see Minnesota take it in 7.
yeah, I think it's going to be a fun series. A lot of people are saying it's going to be a sleeper series. I think this one's going to be very exciting and a lot of big, heavy bodies on both sides. So
Yeah,
if there's going to be a series that could have the most physicality and nastiness, it could end up being this series. Um,
it definitely could. I doubt it, just because I think there's not as much bad blood as there is in this one compared to a lot of them. There's a lot
yeah,
of
but that's
series
the
where
beauty of the
both teams
playoffs.
fucking
So
hate each other,
that's the
and
beauty of it. You get two teams that don't really have that, and then all of a sudden in the
they're
playoffs,
gonna have
one
it.
game, and then all of a sudden it's amplified that much more.
Oh yeah,
But as also just saying, kind of just based off like some of the players in the series
oh yeah.
and what they're
These are
have,
some
have a
heavy
history of
teams.
doing, it definitely can spiral. But let's keep moving on in the Pacific Division. We have the Edmonton Oilers against the LA Kings. LA Kings are coming in with home ice advantage. LA Kings did win the season series 3-1. It is the fourth year in a row that we're getting this matchup in the first round. Edmonton winning all three previous, winning in 7. The following year winning in 6, and then last year winning the series in 5 games.
Oh my
And once
god.
again, they come head to
Dude,
head.
have you seen Daily Faceoff's Edmonton Oilers page? There's
No, but I can't
there's
imagine it's very
10
good.
guys listed on the injury. They have 3 full lines and an extra guy made out of injuries alone. Like it almost looks identical, like not the names obviously, but like how it's laid out when you look at their forwards and there's 3 across, 4 down. It almost looks like that on their injuries list because it's 3 down, 3 across, and then Darnell Nurse as well. Oh
Yeah,
my
Darnell
god.
Nurse, well, I guess he'll be back. Actually, his suspension
He
is
will be back
um,
because he has just a
already
1-game
served,
suspension that was served.
and most of the injuries that Edmonton has sounds like most of them will be good to go come game 1. We know Matthias Ekholm is out for the entire first round. Trent Frederick, unsure with him. He might be good to go. He might not. And then Evander Kane, it's up to the the medical staff there to determine his status. But it does sound like everybody else should be good
Yeah.
to go for game 1. So
Stetcher, Wallman,
little banged up
Hyman,
Edmonton
Draisaitl,
team, but
they'll all be back.
yeah.
This
And
is a weird
fourth
one.
year in a row.
This is
What
a
are you thinking
very weird
for?
one.
What are you thinking for this one?
I'm thinking right now it's 3-0 Oilers in the last 4 years playing each other in the playoffs. The Kings would love to finally beat this team. We don't know what they can do in the playoffs because they always lose to Connor McDavid in the first round, which it's hard to have much shame in that, right? But it sucks that
Yeah.
it keeps happening in the first round. They don't even make it to the second round and then lose to him. But this is an Oilers team that's, if fully healthy, not as good as last year still. I think they've had a bit of turnover. Some guys haven't followed up on their season last year. Like a lot of their acquisitions, Arvidsson, Skinner, like a lot of these guys are just kind of not exactly what they wanted when they brought him in. And this Kings team, they've improved quite a bit. Kuzmenko was a underrated pickup that they did late in the season. A lot of their guys are having great seasons. Quentin Byfield's breaking out in a way that we finally got to see. Lafreniere, Fiala, both I think put up a career high in goals and
Alex
possibly
Laferriere
points.
actually put up more goals than Alexei Lafreniere this season. Fun fact.
Yeah, like everyone was confused about this guy's name because it sounds so much like a very recent first overall pick. He's quickly starting to, kind of push Lafreniere out a little bit
Yeah.
on
You're gonna start
rights
getting
to.
Lafreniere's name mixed up with Laferriere now.
Yeah, a little bit. Like they're pretty even players right now, in my opinion. Are they both number 14?
Um,
What's Lafreniere's number? Because Lafreniere is 14.
let's say Lafreniere. What is he? 13, I think. Yeah, he's
Oh
got
yeah,
yeah,
he's 13. Yeah, he's
probably
13.
13.
I was gonna say I don't think it's 14, but I feel like it's close. Man, that'd be confusing. But
with this series, what's your final prediction here?
yeah, they've upgraded up there. Their defense has looked really good. Drew Doughty's back and healthy now. Great goaltending out of Darcy Kemper on the season as well. Like he, might be a finalist for the Vezina. He faced an insanely low amount of shots compared to similar game played goalies. Guys like Shesterkin, Vasi, Hellebuck, they're all up at like 1,700. He's down at like 1,200, but he's still got like a 921 on the year or something. So, that's just the Kings system. We'll see. Usually that's supposed to translate well in the playoffs, but they also, in the last 3 seasons, have just kind of got shit pumped by 2 guys in the first round. So
Mhm.
we'll see if they can block him out. But so much about this series points to this being the season for the Kings. They're better, they're stronger, better system. The Oilers are beaten up, they're bruised, they're not as good as last year. They lost some talent. The talent they brought in didn't quite work, and yet I just can't vote against this team. They got freaking Cam Dining on their first line, or their first defensive pair with Evan Bouchard. I've never heard that man's name in my life. But I just can't see them beating this Oilers team. Like, they beat them in almost every category except for raw talent on the top superstars. But no, I'll give the Kings till game 7, but I'm going to say Oilers in 7.
Okay, so I've got LA in 7, and a little sprinkle on top. I think the home team wins every game in this series. I think LA wins games 1 and 2 at
Okay.
home. I think Edmonton ties it up, the series up going home, and it just goes back and forth. And I think the Kings win in 7.
Two
Edmonton's
very
just
heavy
really,
home teams in this
yeah,
series. Two of the best home teams in the league.
yeah. Edmonton's just really badly injured, and I think losing Ekholm really hurts. To all the Oilers fans on
Yeah,
Twitter
that's
that say,
brutal.
there's a lot of steam picking up around, more and more people starting to think LA's going to win this. And to the Edmonton fans saying this is the same Kings team as the last 3 years, like what is wrong with you? Like, you cannot say this isn't even remotely close to the same Kings team as uh, the last couple of years. I think LA, especially now, has the clear edge in the goaltending department. Like we've mentioned before, they are the best home team in the league this season. Really, it's going to come down to Edmonton's really badly injured, and if you're the LA Kings, you lose this year, you got to blow the team up. Like, this is literally, if you lose to Edmonton this year, you're not winning another cup with Kopitar, with Doughty. You like
I don't know if they need to
literally
blow it up, though. They've got
you
so
have
many
to.
guys.
It
How?
doesn't
Why?
matter because Edmonton's not going anywhere anytime soon. Vegas isn't going anywhere anytime soon. If you can't beat Edmonton in round 1, literally blow it up in the offseason, go for a Gavin McKenna, go for a Alain Dupont, rebuild, and then come back when Edmonton and Vegas are finally, um, done. Like, the LA Kings haven't won a playoff series since they won the cup in 2014.
Yeah.
This will be their 11th year if they go at round 1 without winning a playoff series since they last won the cup. If this isn't the year you can beat Edmonton, you ain't beating them. There's not much more you can do to
You
set
can get a
yourself up
lot of
to be in the
value for
spot
some of their
there.
guys, though, without blowing it all up. Like,
Yeah,
if they were to
but
move, like,
you're not gonna get
if this
you're
team
not
was
gonna get
cutthroat,
guys
they
that
could be a
can beat.
top contender this year. Like, if
Yeah,
they
but you're not
were,
gonna get guys that can beat Ed or McDavid and Draisaitl though if you can't win this year. And even
I
if you
mean,
do, assuming you
people are
probably play
already picking
Vegas,
them. It's clearly already working.
well, people are picking them, but
Nobody picked them
that doesn't
before.
matter what people say. You got to go out there and win. If the entire hockey world is behind you saying you're going to win, we have faith in you, and you lose, well, it doesn't matter what people thought. This is the year LA's got to go out and get it done. Like, this is again, like we said, you
I can't
bring in a guy
even if
like
they get swept, I can't see them blowing it up. Like, why? How are you going to get better trying to get younger than a guy like Quentin Byfield?
well, that's what I'm saying. You
Like,
you
that's
literally
it's
rebuild
not.
until Edmonton and Vegas are on the decline.
No, I don't
Because
think they would, and I don't think
Kopitar
they
is going
need
to be a
to.
year older. Doughty's going to be a year older. Darcy
I
Kemper,
think
he's
if they
playing
want to be
great, but he's not
cutthroat,
getting any younger.
move Kopitar, move Doughty. You'll get huge returns for them, but I think they got the pieces there. They
You got to
just
get those superstars. If
yep.
you can't win this year, you got to get those, and that's what I'm saying. You got to get those. I mean, you do have Quentin Byfield, who was a second overall pick recently, but you got to get those top end young talent that are the guys that are taking over the league.
Quentin Byfield, Mitch Marner, first line could go crazy.
And LA would be a desirable
Pretty,
location for Marner, I bet, actually.
and nice and far away from Toronto.
Yeah.
That'd be a pretty good two-way line as well. There's something there.
But again, I think this Edmonton team is still fantastic. Definitely not as good as last year. Again, guys like Arvidsson, Skinner haven't really panned out. Um, and again, you lose at home. That's like your best all around defenseman in all. Well, not offensively, but two-way defenseman, your best defensive defenseman. Um,
Probably their second
really
best
hurt.
offensive defenseman, maybe
Yeah.
third.
No, I would
Like,
say second. Yeah.
so yeah, without him, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, and especially with all the injuries that um, Edmonton's coming in with, especially with how the way they played in that final game with a lot of, especially from Nurse, cheap shots. You got to imagine the Kings are coming in; they're just going to come out fast and hard and just be hitting everybody. And um, if you're an Oilers team that's already banged up, it's going to do some damage on you, getting hit
Yeah. You know what?
over and over and over.
If I do end up changing my mind on this series, if it happens, it will happen after game 1. And that will be if the Kings go out there and they play like fucking bastards. Because you know what? That's a really good point. Darnell Nurse goes out there, and we're going to talk more in depth about it in the next episode when we're not, or one of the future episodes where we're not previewing all the teams here. But that cross check on Byfield, the Kings got to be pissed. You went out
Yeah,
of your way, they called him out. You played your B team. You tried to injure one of probably their best guy right now. And you know
been a point
what?
per game since February 1.
And they're chucking those rocks, and they're sitting there in their glass house where they have Kane, Regula, Klingberg, Ekholm, Frederick, Draisaitl, Hyman, Wallman, Stetcher, and Darnell Nurse all out.
And not
Like,
to mention McDavid and Draisaitl are
McDavid's not
both
fully
coming
healthy.
back from injuries. Like they're banged up pretty good too.
Yeah, like hardly anybody on this team is fully healthy. Like, yeah, you know what? If the Kings go out there, they should be throwing the body on these guys, beat
Yeah.
them into submission. And you know what? That's, yeah, they got to play a textbook LA playoff series. And you know what? The concept of that definitely turns me on the Kings a little more. I'm still
Yeah.
going to
And
say Oilers
honestly,
in 7, but after that first game, if they end the game with like 50 hits, you know what? I'll stand by my pick, but I would not be surprised at all if the Kings won after that.
yeah. I'm just looking up average, and then we'll move on to the next series. I want to see if they track the average. Oh, they do track the average hits per. I guess Kings are right in the middle. They're 15th. They average 21.24 hits per game.
Where
So,
does the Oilers land on that?
on the StatsMuse website, you have to unlock the data after 25. Edmonton's below that.
So they're not in the top 25. So they're in the
So they're in,
bottom 7 of the league.
yeah.
That's all you really need to know. They're
So
right down there.
yeah, LA, if you come out and be physical, it's definitely going to hurt Edmonton more because of all the injuries that they're dealing with. So in conclusion, you have Edmonton in 7. I have LA in 7. My little sprinkle is the home team wins every game in this series. Moving over to
You know what? If you're gonna throw something, I'm throwing in something as well. Jeff Skinner, first goal of the playoff series.
ooh, I would like that. I'd like that. He's definitely earned that at
I
this point. Hopefully, he at
I
least
just
gets
hope
one
we see
goal.
him skate like hell every shift. I just so
Mhm.
badly want to see this guy be like, I've been waiting my whole. All these guys are like, I've waited my whole life for a chance at the cup. This guy's waited his whole life for a chance at the playoffs, at playing this late in the year, which is only April 20th, I think, is when the playoffs start. Or maybe it's April 19th. But like, man, finally over 1,000 games. And I saw a stat the other day. Jeff Skinner, he won the Calder, right?
Yeah.
He won the Calder. In second place that year in Calder votes, Logan Couture. Logan Couture announced his retirement before Jeff Skinner got to play a playoff game.
And third place
Like,
that year was Michael Grabner, who's been out of the league for a couple of years. So both guys that were Calder finalists are both retired and out of hockey
and
before
he's
Jeff
just
Skinner
getting his
got to
chance.
the playoffs. Yeah.
So
Um,
I hope he's going crazy out there. But we can
yeah,
move on.
we'll wait and see what happens there. Let's move over to the Central Division. In the Central, we have the President's Trophy winning Winnipeg Jets going up against the St. Louis Blues, who are in the wild card 2 spot. Winnipeg winning the regular season series 3-1.
Of
And
course.
just to throw a little bit in there, now that we know it's kind of looking more official, um, probably no Nikolai Ehlers for this series for Winnipeg. He is
Oh,
listed
and
as week to week. And
man,
for
that
St.
sucks.
Louis, it's looking like potentially no Dylan Holloway for this series as he is deemed week to week. So
Those are
definitely
two
could
big
change. We've seen guys
losses.
come back from injuries a lot sooner in the playoffs because it is the Stanley Cup playoffs. But for this, I'm going to assume no Ehlers or no Holloway for this series.
Yeah, and man, does that suck. Especially Ehlers, just because not a hockey, but he's just skating over by the boards, and he's just not paying attention. He's over on the left side boards, glancing to the right, looking at the play, and his left skate just clips. He doesn't even like full on hit him, just clips the ref's skate, and he just goes crash to the ice, and just one of those things where like it doesn't take a ton of force if you're not prepared for it at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even know if they've said what it is, if it's like a ligament thing, if it's a sprained ankle, whatever, but that blows, man. Like this is a great chance for the team. I think he might be a pending UFA. Like he might
He is. He might
like
have very well played his last game as a Winnipeg Jet.
like that sucks.
Not just because I think he's done for the year or something, but I mean, if Winnipeg goes out and with we'll talk about it later more in depth. But Neil Pionk's new contract, don't know if there's the money there for Ehlers, and again, we don't know the full severity. These week to weeks, you never know. Could be
Yeah.
back for game one all of a sudden. It could be Winnipeg goes to the Cup Finals and Ehlers doesn't play. It's so unpredictable.
Yeah. Um but that being said, this might be the hardest series for me to pick a winner in. Um the Winnipeg Jets obviously won the President's Trophy. They're firing on all cylinders. I believe they had the odds-on favorite at this point to win the Hart Trophy in Connor Hellebuck in net, and they got plenty of scoring throughout the lineup. Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, like they've been incredible this year. Josh Morrissey on the blue line. Like this is a nasty team. Um, but those St. Louis Blues, man, they've just been so good in the last month and a half that they're just making a believer out of me. Like there's not a team in this league that I think can sweep the St. Louis Blues in a playoff series. I don't think anybody could do it if you gave them 4 games right now, win out. I this is a tough one, but I think I am going to say the Winnipeg Jets take this one. I'm going to say in I'm going to say in 7 games. I feel like it might be 6,
Okay.
but I'm giving them to 7, man. This team is out of nowhere. They've been so good. They've been
Okay.
so good.
I can respect that. Both mine matchups over in the Pacific, I had to go into 7. This one I have Winnipeg in 5. Um, and it's literally nothing against St. Louis at all. Like I think the
The
run St.
President's
Louis has
Trophy
gone on
winner
in
in
the
5.
playoffs like is incredible. So it's nothing against them. I definitely do think as good as Nikolai Ehlers is, I think having Dylan Holloway out for St. Louis hurts the Blues more than not having Ehlers does for Winnipeg. Um, it really comes down to you know what
Third
Connor
top
Hellebuck has
scorer on
done.
both teams.
Yeah,
Ehlers is the third scorer, point producer on the Jets, and Holloway's the third point producer on the Blues.
yeah.
So
It's just the way Binnington played in the Four Nations, and then from there on out, the rest of the season has been fantastic. But so is Connor Hellebuck.
That's a
people
finals
love to,
rematch, isn't it? That's the
yeah,
U.S. and Canada goalie as well. So
people
got
love to
a
go
bit of a
back
storyline there.
to, last year. Oh, Hellebuck got lit up by, it's Colorado.
By a
It's
notoriously good offensive stacked
yeah,
team.
like it's it really was. They
The
didn't get the
defense
greatest
was not.
defensive play
It was
either. Like,
not good.
so
Yeah.
Kyle Connor having a phenomenal year, hitting 41 goals, 97 points. Mark Scheifele, 39 goals, 87 points. Expecting that they're going to get Gabriel Velarde back on that top line, I think is going to be huge to get him back. This year is actually it is also the battle of the Shens. Braden Shen, obviously on St. Louis, and Luke Shen now in the Winnipeg Jets. So we'll get to see
Oh,
those
that's
brothers
right.
go head to head. Really, it's just the President's Trophy winning team. Again, St. Louis is a good team, but I think Winnipeg is just that much better, that much deeper, and yeah,
Holloway's a
it's a
big
it's
loss
a
for
one
him.
versus it's a 1 versus 8. At the end of the day, for it is that the top team in the West going up against the second wild card team, um,
Yeah,
and I think Connor Hellebuck is just going to play phenomenal. I think this could actually very well be the lowest scoring series. Maybe not because it's I've
I
got to
can
go
see
in
that.
5 games, but I think on a goals per game average across those series, I think this very well could be the lowest scoring series, as I think both goalies are going to play phenomenal. But
I could see that, but it's not going
again,
to be
what
my pick
Hellebuck
for
can,
lowest scoring series. I know what I'm guessing for that.
but yeah, I'm
I
going Winnipeg in 5.
Okay.
Again,
You
St.
know
Louis
what? I'm
great
gonna
team.
I'm gonna lower it. I'm gonna go Winnipeg in 6 because
At
you are
6.
right. They are a very very good team, and Holloway is a massive loss. If Holloway comes back, then maybe they could push it to 7 for sure. But
Hmm.
yeah, I'll lower it to Winnipeg in 6.
Yeah. All right. So
I
there
would
we
love
go.
to see it, man.
The
I mean, I would love. It's too bad because I do want to cheer for the Canadian team. The Jets are fun, but I do just something about this Blues team. I just really like all their top players.
Yeah, I've really started to
They're a fun
you
squad.
know become more and more invested in St. Louis, especially with that winning streak. Obviously did want to see um Calgary make it into the playoffs, and all that. But at the end of the day, it's you see that Minnesota team with all those injuries, scrapping and clawing to stay in the fight, and the insane run the Blues went on. It's like, how can you not cheer for these guys? It was You're picking between 3 teams. Like, man, I just love this story for all of them. So, um, but the unfortunate
Yep.
part is you run into juggernauts of the Vegas Golden Knights and the Winnipeg Jets, and those are tough mountains to climb, especially in the playoffs and starting those series on the road. Moving on to the last
Um,
matchup in
we
the
haven't been doing it. Do we want to do like an X Factor player in each series? Do we want to do like a series MVP, anything like that? Or
I'll leave that to you. Do you want to do what do you want to do? Do you want to do an X Factor or MVP?
like I think it might. I
Which
think
one
it'll
of
be
those do you want?
fun. Like
Okay.
there's probably a lot of series where it's going to be you know the usual suspects, but I think it's fun to do, maybe an MVP for either the series or both teams, whatever we want to go with.
Okay, so we'll quickly backtrack here. Vegas, Minnesota. What's your pick for that?
Vegas, Minnesota. For Vegas, I'm just going Jack Eichel. I think that's a relative slam dunk. I think he's going to drive the offense there on that squad. Um, Minnesota, I'll give it to Gustafson. We have not seen him in the playoffs yet. I don't believe.
Yeah.
And he was real good early on the season. I don't think he'll be a Vezina finalist, but I think he'll be close.
Wait, so that was your MVP? Is that what we're doing?
I was kind of doing like a bit of an X Factor guy, but I,
Okay,
I would
okay,
have
I like
I
that
would
more.
have
No, I like the X factor more. Yeah,
yeah,
I like that way more because MVP, you just pick the best player pretty much 9 times out of 10. So I
yeah,
like the X factor. Vegas, I'm going Tomas Hertl. I mean, what the
love it.
goal scoring pace he was on this year prior to his injury was insane. He's back, he's fully healthy, and I've watched him numerous years in San Jose. This is a guy that thrives in the playoffs and um, has the frame to be built for a a playoff guy and can score in those big moments. For Minnesota, I'm going Matt Boldy. Maybe an obvious pick outside of Kaprizov. I would pick Z Boym if I knew for sure if he was playing. Don't know if he is, but if he is, that would be my pick. But Matt Boldy, every area of the game, every spot on the ice, he is great, and he's one of the best all around players already in the league.
Crazy good
So
contract.
I really do expect him to be a driving force for Minnesota. Edmonton, LA. What are your picks there?
You know what? Edmonton, like for this X Factor thing, I'm kind of thinking like picking guys who punch above their weight class. You know, if McDavid goes 1.5 per game, that's unfortunately for him, that's kind of what we expect at this point. So for them, I'm so close to saying Ekholm just because if he comes back, he'll be so important.
I
But
think they've
I'm gonna go
officially
Stuart
ruled him
Skinner.
out.
Stuart Skinner has to play well, or they will not win.
Yeah. I think Stuart Skinner's who I would pick. That really is what it could potentially come down to for Edmonton.
I
Like,
can't believe they didn't buy a goalie. They didn't even
yeah.
try. They didn't even
Like
try to
Edmonton
buy a
could go out
goalie.
there and pot 5 a game against Kemper, and they could still get swept in the series if Stuart Skinner doesn't put it together. But we did see him put it together later in the playoffs last year, so there's no reason he can't do it again. But
Yeah,
it is asking for a lot. The LA Kings.
the LA Kings. Let me just bring them back up here. Uh, Byfield got freaking cross-checked something nasty there. I don't know how much Kemper's going to be able to do against their offense. I think it's going to have to be kind of a system thing to help stop them. I'm going Kevin Fiala. I think Kevin Fiala is probably going to end up leading this Kings team in goals. I think he's going to, if they're going to have to outscore some of their problems every once in a while, I think it's going to be a lot of it through Kevin Fiala and that top six.
I like that pick. I'm going Warren Fogle. This was a guy who
Great pick.
I thought played great for Edmonton last year, especially in the playoffs. And
Been on the top line
they
recently.
decided they want to move on from him. They used that money to go out and get guys like Jeff Skinner, like Victor Evertson, and Warren Fogel's been better than both those guys. I'll even go a step further. Those two guys combined. 24 goals this year, 46 points, played in all 82 games. He does have a physical edge to him, and I think more than anything, he's going to want to go out there and prove, maybe you should have held on to me. I think he's going to come into the series feeling like he's got a lot to prove, and
might give him an inside track on what the Oilers are doing too. I mean, these teams they didn't just face each other last year. This is the 4th year in a row. Like, that's a long ass time, man. And he was in Edmonton for all of those, right?
Yeah, those literally is 3 years in Edmonton.
So
every first round was against the Kings.
Like, fuck, they got the man on the inside. Like, unless they drastically changed their approach, he knows the tricks. He knows what they're going to be planning for. So they got a little bit of an inside scoop. I love that pick.
Also,
I kinda
Warren
forgot about
Fogle set a career high in plus minus 2 years ago with the Oilers, putting up a +7, +36 this year.
Oh,
46 points on the year. He's a +36.
You have to be damn near like top 10 in the league for plus minus then.
That's highest on the team actually. So Warren
I
Fogle,
think the
X
highest in the
factor,
league was
gonna be
McDonough
pissed
at,
off.
it was like plus 41, 42. So like he's pretty close to the league lead.
Yeah, he's got to be up there if that's where McDonough is. Yeah. Actually, I should be able to find it here quickly. McDonough +43. Warren Fogle tied for 4th in the league.
That's pretty good.
So there's that there. Winnipeg, St. Louis.
Winnipeg, Connor Hellebuyck. I don't want to shit on anybody for saying anything else, but like it almost feels like this is one of the ones that kind of has an answer. Like,
Yeah, it's the obvious one. I'll throw one out there just to so there's 2 names because we kind of had 2 names for most teams. I'll say Gabe Vilardi. just because I think he's come back from injury. I think this is a guy who is going to be known, I think, by the end of his career as being a playoff machine. And when you get to play with guys like Scheifele and Kyle Carr on the top line, like you're putting him in a position to succeed. So I think this is a guy that's going to thrive in the playoffs and really start to make. I mean, a lot of people already know his name, but we're going to be talking about him a lot more, I think.
He's the
by the
guy who's
time
going to
the
make the
playoffs are done.
PLD trade go from great to amazing.
Franchise altering.
Yeah. Josh Morrissey also could be a massive, massive player in this series, but at the end of the day, yeah, Connor Hellebuck, like, I mean, we've seen it before in the playoffs. He could put up an 880. Would you be shocked if this series ended? He had a 940 over 5, 6, 7 games. Not really either. So if we get that version of Connor Hellebuck, fuck, what are you supposed to do about that? I don't know. Get bodies in front and pray.
Yeah, pretty much. And
Sometimes
then
that's how it goes. St. Louis. Another one where you kind of want to pick Jordan Binnington. He's quite the gamer, but you know what? He's done it in the past. He's done it before. He's did it in 4 nations. I'm not even going to pick him as the X factor because I think he's just going to be that guy. Like I don't think of him as having quite the ceiling that Hellebuck can have if they both ball out, but I don't expect him to get lit up multiple times in this series. So I am going to go Jordan Kyrou. I almost went Cam Fowler since he's just been so hot down the stretch, and nobody expected him to be this damn good with the Ducks, or at least I certainly didn't. With the Blues coming over from the Ducks, but Jordan Kyrou is a guy who seems to consistently rise to the occasion, and I think a lot of their offense, more so than usual, is going to come through him.
Yeah, I don't mind the pick. I'm going to go with Jake Neighbors. Getting his first crack in the playoffs this year. This is a guy that's already has been slowly getting better and better and rising over the past couple years. And there's a big hole that's going to need to be filled with Dylan Holloway out. I expect Jake Neighbors to come in and have to kind of pick up some of that extra weight. And I think he's a guy that can definitely do that and isn't afraid to get into the dirt airs and play a little scrappy. So I think he's gonna have to. Someone's gonna have to rise to the occasion with Dylan Holloway out, and I think Jake Neighbors is gonna be that guy.
Yeah, you know what? That's a great pick as well. I love it.
Now moving on to a series we haven't covered in depth: the Colorado Avalanche and the Dallas Stars. Mikko Rantanen going up against his former team. The Dallas Stars coming in with home ice advantage in this series. Colorado winning the season series 2-1. And we know it's pretty much all but confirmed no Miro Heiskanen for round 1. That is a big loss for Dallas. And I was waiting all morning, and a few minutes ago got an update here. Jason Robertson, we know, is week to week.
Oh my God. What the hell happened to him? Dude, there's so many week to week guys.
That happened in the that Nashville Dallas game. Robertson did leave the game with an injury, and then he was seen
one of the
arena.
One of the least meaningful games ever.
Yeah, and that's why you rest guys. That's what Colorado was doing.
A lot of teams.
Jason Robertson did leave the arena in a knee brace, and we now know that he is week to week. So again, never fully know with that. They do have Tyler Seguin coming back, which does help a little bit, but losing a guy like Jason Robertson.
Nasty assist on a goal for Seguin, like 20 seconds back. It was like 1940 on the clock in the first period. In the first game, Seguin came back and he made a nice play behind the net to set somebody up. So
he was a beast prior to his injury earlier this year. He was playing really well. So
yeah, he's had getting him back resurgence with the rest of the team being so good as well.
Does help. And obviously, we don't have for sure confirmation. But Gabriel Landeskog is back up with the Colorado Avalanche. He's no longer in the AHL, so expecting him to play at some point in this series. I don't know if it's going to be right out of the gate game 1. Very well could be, but expecting Gabriel Landeskog to make his return. in this series, two of the bigger Stanley Cup favorites going up to against each other in round one. Braden, what is your prediction for this series?
Oh, whoever wins this series, like, has a clear path to the cup. They're both so good. Like, fuck, if I'm Dallas, I'm so pissed. I'm so pissed at the playoff format. They finished what, third in the entire league, but they finished second in the division, and that means they end up playing checks notes. The Colorado Avalanche. Are you kidding me? I would be so mad at Bettman. Man, these are both really, really good teams.
Although we do say, they're going up
injuries.
against Colorado. If it was the 1 versus 8 format, they'd be playing Edmonton instead.
I definitely think I'd be taking Dallas in that, especially with
if I'm Dallas, I think I'd much rather play Edmonton than Colorado. But your consolation is, instead of playing McKinnon and Makar, well, shit, now you play McDavid and Draisaitl.
Yeah, that's fair. Like, there's slightly easier paths. There's no easy path to a Stanley Cup. That's kind of the point.
Colorado also is worth noting, this is Mackenzie Blackwood's first taste of the NHL playoffs as well. He has no playoff games under his belt.
Yeah, and you know what? The MVPs or the X factors for both teams seem pretty obvious for me. And
they are so obvious. We better have the same ones.
I think we will. And I'm gonna go with the Colorado Avalanche. I'm gonna say in 7. I want to pick the Stars team.
Fuck, do you have every series in 7?
Minnesota was in 6.
You did change the Winnipeg St. Louis.
And I changed that to 6.
Yeah, you did change that too. Yeah. So you got Colorado in 7?
Yeah, this is one of those, like, I feel like it might not go to 7, but I can't decide who I want to win or who I think will win. So I gotta say it's going to 7 if it's that close, and I gotta go. I have
Colorado in 6. Really, the biggest thing is it's
Heiskanen.
You take a fantastic Dallas team, but then you remove Miro Heiskanen, who is by far clearly their best defenseman, and then you lose Jason Robertson. Like, those are 2 daggers to a team.
Especially with how good Heiskanen is at playing a shit ton of minutes, and he's so good defensively. Like, he's one of the premier defensemen in this league, but he's not a guy known for his offense. He's so good at shutting down the other teams while producing a bit of offense. And like, against the Avalanche, is there a team in the league you need your best defenseman around for more? Like, who's going to be on that top penalty kill now? Like, bless their hearts, it's going to be a tough sell. They got Cody Ceci on the first penalty kill unit.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, Cody, what are you going to do?
If it was one of those ones where it's like who I want to win, I am more leaning towards Dallas, and it's strictly because Colorado's already got their cup. And, you always want to see those veterans, those guys like Mikael Granlund, like Jamie Benn, like Tyler Seguin. You want to see them get, actually, Tyler Seguin already has a cup. Matt Duchene instead. You want to see those guys get a cup. A team that's been so close over recent years. Back-to-back trips to the Western Conference Finals, only to lose. But you run into this juggernaut of an Avs team that, went all out at the trade deadline. Went from having damn near no one to play at the start of the season to now being one of the deepest teams in the entire league and coming in pretty much fully healthy.
Their forward core is insane compared to November. Like, this team had no depth
now. Like, it's a complete swap for Colorado. They were the team banged up against all these healthy teams, and now they're the healthy one going up against a banged up team. So
you would have to pick a specific game when their injuries were at their worst. But their fourth line of Parker Kelly, Jack Drury, and Logan O'Connor is probably better than their second line at some point in this season.
Oh,
At
yeah.
some point, they probably had
Yeah.
a second line that was worse than their current
Yeah,
fourth
it's
line because of all the
not even
injuries.
close.
So,
Um,
yeah,
don't get me wrong, this is a series where I think Dallas could easily win this in 6. Dallas could win this in 7. Like, I don't think these injuries make it like, oh, like Dallas is cooked, they're done for, they can't
yeah.
win. They can still easily win.
The only thing I
That's
can't see is
not
a
out of the
sweep.
question.
I
Yeah.
don't think either team
Yeah.
sweeps, but I could see either team in 5, either team in 6 or 7.
Yeah.
I really could.
Yeah. And if Miro Heiskanen's able to return early and come back, that's huge for Dallas. If Jason
Massive.
Robertson is able to return at some point, that is massive and a game changer for Dallas. But it's predictions. We got to pick a team based off what we know right now, where we're at, and with the information we have and know. Um, I don't think Mackenzie Blackwood's going to be a goalie that crumbles in the playoffs. I think he is going to be just fine the way he has been since joining the Colorado Avalanche. I'm going
Yep.
Colorado in 6.
Yep.
And
I think he's the kind of goalie. I think he'll bend, but I do not think he will break.
yeah.
If you're the starting goalie for the Avalanche, you put up a 900, they are just fine with that.
Yeah.
They are just fine with that. So, yeah, I'm going to take the Avs in 7. Brundy, who do you have as your X factor for the Avalanche?
For me, I think it's really obvious. It's Valley Nichushkin. This is a guy that has been, when he's been playing, has been one of the best goal scorers in the playoffs. And I expect this is a year
Oh, you're
where
full committing. Oh, I
yeah,
no, I was
no,
100% expecting you to like start your sentence and then be like, "No, I'm just kidding." Because
like
you said for sure we'd have the same ones and I thought it was black and white obvious. No, never mind.
black and
Sorry.
white obvious is in Blackwood.
Cool.
Blackwood is, I think, is another awesome pick, but for Nichushkin, what's the biggest thing about him? We know he's a good player, but it comes back to that playoff controversy the last 2 years. I expect this
Happened
is a year
twice.
where he's you know he's got tunnel vision on getting shit done, going out there being the best player he can be, and when he does that in the playoffs, he's one of the best from what we've seen in recent years. So,
Yeah.
um, almost went with Landeskog, but I just
I
don't
was
know
going
the
to say
status on
that
him. I just don't know the
that's
status on
100%
him
my
yet.
pick. He got recalled after playing in the AHL. Like, I think he's probably playing game 1. And if not, he's playing in this series, especially if they go down in the series. And that's a captain coming back after 3 years of not playing, an elite player that, at least in the past that we know of, like, he plays make a prototypical playoff guy. He plays that style. Like,
Mm,
he, yeah, everything about him screams he's going to be the X factor this series.
yeah, that's
We'll have to see. The only thing bigger
definitely
in
not a
X
bad pick.
factor really is for me would be if Heiskanen made a John Cena at the Royal Rumble return. Like,
Game 1, no rumors, no news, just comes out for warm-ups.
dude, could
Chills,
you imagine in Dallas? He
chills.
come instead of the whole team, it's just him. He just like goes out first with like a spotlight on him. Dude, you could actually
Rookie
pop the
solo
crowd
lap.
like it's Mania. Like, that would be
Um,
so good.
Dallas, who's your X factor? I think we have the same one for
I
Dallas.
I would imagine so. It's Mikko Rantanen.
It's Mikko Rantanen. I almost wanted to go Thomas Harley because he has to fill that void
I
for
I
Heiskanen,
wanted to shout him out as well. You are
but
so right.
it's
He's been great since the face
it's
off.
it's Rantanen. You look at, oh, why is Dallas's decor, so weak? Why didn't they go at the deadline? Because they went out and got Mikko Rantanen. That was their whole focus, and their entire deadline was working on getting a contract done with Rantanen. That was your big swing, your big move, franchise altering move, basically. And he's coming in against his former team. He's going to have to go out there and prove, hey, this is why you gave up this big package for me. This is why you didn't go out and grab these defensemen. It was so you could get me. And especially with Robertson out, you're going to need Rantanen to drive that bus for the team.
Yeah, definitely need him to help produce a lot of offense. This Stars team is so dumb, man. It's so goofy. Okay. I just need to combine his numbers from all 3 teams to figure out Rantanen's total points on the year. 70 between the Avs and Hurricanes plus 18. So he's got 88 points on the year. So if you take his entire year stats, that puts him he would be the top scorer on the Stars. 88 points for him, 71 points for Wyatt Johnston. They both play on the third line in Dallas. And that was the case before the Robertson injury as well. And they're playing there with captain Jamie Benn. Like, they just have such an insane forward core. Like, even with such a key injury and a guy like Robertson, like, what a goofy lineup, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
I still believe that their forward core, when healthy, obviously when Robertson does hurt, is the deepest in the league. But
I mean, that two
losing,
70-plus point guys on the third line, how could you argue with it? Obviously, they're getting a ton of power play time, and I think Wyatt Johnston might even be on the PK, but like, yeah, that's that's gross.
And then even Jamie Benn, like, what, he had a pretty decent season, didn't he?
I believe
49
he's
points
been a career resurgence
games.
a little.
I did also have a stat sent to me, which I thought was pretty surprising. Only 10 times in NHL history has a team come into the playoffs on a 9 times now. Dallas will be the 10th, coming into the playoffs on a 7-game losing streak.
I was
All
surprised
teams
when I heard that the
prior
other day.
to that have gone to the Stanley Cup Finals. So if Dallas goes, they're keeping the trend of it, and they will be the 10th team to do it out of 10. So if you're a Dallas fan, you're worried about the injuries or this losing streak, maybe that's something there to give you a little bit of hope. As again, I think Dallas, again, very easily could win the series because they are that good. They are that deep. They do have those pieces that can win. And Jake Ottinger, when he's on,
one of the best. Talked about Jake Ottinger yet?
Yeah, like, when he's on, one of the best that there can be in the league in the playoffs.
And you know what? Their backup goalie, do they still have, is it Casey DeSmith? He's had an incredible season as well. So if something were to happen to Ottinger, Casey DeSmith is right there to help pick up the pieces. And I don't know if he'll exactly be elite for them, but like they got 2 goaltenders. It's not like in Tampa where Vasi goes down absolutely fucked.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. So final prediction: you have Colorado in 7. I have Colorado in 6.
Yeah, 9-15 on the season for Casey DeSmith in 27 games.
I'm rooting for Dallas, but I think with these injuries, it's going to be very tough for them.
Man, can you this team just had Joe.
Don't kick me off the bandwagon. I am on the bandwagon. I am cheering for you.
This team lost Joe Pavelski to retirement. Was it last offseason?
Yeah.
Like, God, what does that do? Is Wyatt Johnston now on the 4th line? Like, this team,
Jamie Benn would be 4th line.
They'd have like top 6 talent players getting healthy scratched with a couple more players. Like, oh my God. Yeah. It's so filthy. Obviously, they're spreading out the talent. They're not actually 3rd line players compared to the rest of the team, but like the 1st and 2nd lines don't look bad for it. Like, it's crazy.
But those are our Western predictions. Stick around to the end of the episode and you'll find out who we think will actually come out of those teams in the West to the Stanley Cup final. Let's move on over to the East. We'll start off with the top team in the East, the Washington Capitals, going up against the Montreal Canadiens, who in game 82 went out there and beat Carolina to punch their ticket into the playoffs. Washington winning the season series 2-1. There's no stress of Ovi needing to break the goal record. He hasn't broken it. All eyes are on going to win the cup now with this team, with this core.
Yeah, he even scored 3 goals after the record. Like, he kind of padded it a little. I think he's up to 897 or something.
We do know with Montreal, did come out this morning that whether they win the cup, whether they get swept, whatever it is, David Savard will retire at the end of the season. Montreal coming in pretty much fully healthy for the most part. Washington, no word on Logan Thompson or Alexei Protas as of right now, but 2 guys that I do expect will come into the series at some point, whether it's at the start, in the middle. They will be in there. But Braden, what is your prediction for this series?
This is this is kind of a tough one for me. I'm, you know, they've really cooled down um over in Washington, and they didn't cool down the same way that a lot of teams did, where they're resting their top guys and stuff. Like, they cooled down a little bit earlier than those other teams when they were still kind of trying. And I think a lot of it had to do with the goal chase and all that, and everything surrounding that. But the team hasn't had the same amount of time, it feels like, to dial in for the playoffs over that. And this Montreal team, to be fair, they they beat the Hurricanes, but not by a lot, and that wasn't a full Carolina team. I think they were resting like 7 of their best 9 guys. They lost to Frank Nazar and the boys over in Chicago. But before that, man, this team, when
They were
the
playing good.
Canadians are on, it's wild to look at, because it's like this team has missed the playoffs multiple years in a row, way down there in the standings. And fuck, look at them go. They look so good out there. And then they add Ivan Demidov. Oh, it feels not wise to pick the Canadians to win this series. And yet, I think they're going to do it. I'm going to pick the Canadians.
In
I'm going to say in 6.
in 6. Ooh, in 6.
I
Okay.
think either, unfortunately, I think this is what they're going to do, and I think it's the wrong play. I think Logan Thompson's going to play game 1, and I don't think he's quite ready to come back yet. I think Charlie Lindgren is about as good of a backup as you can get in this day and age in the NHL. I think they should be playing Lindgren for games 1 and 2. Logan Thompson should be resting at his house and then take him on the road. But I feel like they're probably going to start him, and I'm hoping he doesn't get injured, but it might be a bit early for him to come back. They've got a lot of key injuries over there in Washington. And mainly Logan Thompson and Alexi Protas. Faravari, was he just out sitting for that last game, or is he actually injured?
I think he was just sitting.
Okay, so yeah, it's a couple injuries there. Pretty healthy Montreal lineup. Like, their only injury is Kirby Dach, really, and he's been on IR like the whole season, basically. So I'm going in 6 games. I'm going the Canadians. I think this is a sneaky
Okay.
team, and I don't think
I
it's
don't hate it.
under the radar. I think everybody knows they're a sneaky pick, but you know what? The Capitals, all they've done this year is prove me wrong. I said Ovi wouldn't even score 15 goals. He came in 3rd in the Rocket race. I said
Despite
that they
breaking
were
his
going to
record.
finish. Yeah, I said they were going to finish 7th in the division. They almost won the Presidents. Like, you know what? If Washington wants to prove me wrong again, go for it. I'm sure at some point I'll stop underestimating you. Probably during the parade.
I'm still on the Washington wagon. I've got Washington in 5. I don't have any. There's probably going to be a series that's going to be a sweep. It seems like there always is. I don't have a sweep at all this year, but I did put, if there is going to be a sweep, I do think it will be this series. Um, Again, this is
That's
just a
fair.
Washington team that keeps, proving everybody wrong. People keep writing them off, thinking they're going to fall off. The team's going to crumble. That's just not the case. And again, this is a team that does they do have Ovi, and he's been playing great, but they don't have like that superstar. This is a team that just from top to bottom, it's all 4 lines, all 3 defensive pairings, both goaltenders, all working together to get it done. Um, this is a great Montreal team. To make the playoffs alone for them is exceptional. It's incredible what they've done. And they're only going to continue to get better. But you're just going up against a Washington team that I think is just is so big. They play such a heavy game, and that's really where they're going to thrive in the playoffs. Is just being a big team that um is going to be tough to roll them over. So I've got Washington in
That's fair.
5. Definitely could go 6, could go 7. Definitely a series Montreal could win. Um,
Yeah,
Washington just keeps proving people wrong, so I'm just gonna
they've done
keep
it
riding with them
all
until
year.
eventually, um, they they fall apart
Yeah,
or win the cup. Who knows with this Washington team, right?
yeah,
The
both are
top team in the
incredibly
East, but
likely.
they're potentially the most unpredictable team in the playoffs.
Yeah, it almost feels like it. Um, I guess who do you have on the Capitals as your X factor?
On the Capitals as my X factor, I'm going Jacob Chikrin. 20
Great
goals
pick.
this year. He's got that new big contract. He is fit perfectly in with this Capitals team. Um, got a little bit of a taste of the playoffs that one year with Arizona, that weird kind of COVID year. Um, but his first full crack in the playoffs, full 7-game series, fans in the building, all the lights, everything going. Um,
We'll
I
see
think
what he
he's gonna
can
be
do.
one of
Yeah,
those guys that is just gonna play great all around. Maybe not put up insane point totals, but I think at the end of the series, when you look at it, it's gonna be like, man, he was just. I think he's gonna be so dominant for Washington.
no, that's a great pick. I'm gonna go with Dylan Strome. This guy has been so underrated all year. He has been, I believe, the top point producer in Washington, and he's just been lights out, and obviously, mainly in part to literally Ovechkin going for and breaking the all-time goals record. It's a pretty big thing to overshadow you, right? It's pretty hard to not get overshadowed by that, but he ended 82 points in 82 games, 29 goals. Like this guy, and he also plays a pretty decent two-way game as well. Like he's a great player, and he's done it consistently for years now. I think he's gonna show up big for Washington.
Yeah, honorable mention. I will also say Pierre Luc Dubois. Um, Maybe not necessarily last year, but in years prior, when in the playoffs, I think he has been actually a very solid, notable player. Um, he's just one of those guys. He's the skill is obviously there. He's a bigger body, and those guys tend to usually be pretty well built for the playoffs. And he did play all 82 games. He was coming in healthy, so I
And
expect him
he's
to
probably getting
continue
line
to
matched.
prove that what a great addition and pickup he was for Washington, as he's done all year, obviously.
Yeah, man, what? Who could have predicted what a banger trade Kemper for Dubois? They took these two hunks of, like, frankly, hunks of shit that were dragging each team down, and both teams made them their new shiny piece of shit a core part of their team.
Hmm.
Like they're both in now, like they were anchors on the teams they were in. Now, uh Kemper is easily top 5 most valuable player on the Kings. Dubois probably top 5 most valuable on his team as well. At least knocking on the door of top 5.
Yeah.
Like,
And that's no disrespect to him. That's just what again, this Washington team has a lot of
yeah,
pretty solid players.
yeah, and I think his line's gonna get line matched against whatever line has line A on it. I think they're gonna make sure he gets shut down, and 5v5 maybe expose him a little bit. So you know what? We might see a little
Maybe.
bit of an offensive explosion if Carberry can line match him well.
And then Montreal, who's your X factor for the Canadians?
It's it's very they have a lot of guys that are really tempting to pick.
They do.
Like you
I
could
hope we
easily go
have
with
the
the
same
goalie
one.
in Montembeau.
I really hope we have
Um,
the same one.
I honestly have not a clue who you'd be picking. Like there's like 5 or 6 great picks. Am I gonna go with them? I'm gonna go with them. It's Ivan Demidov. Uh,
Aw.
you could pick a lot of guys here. I really wanted to pick Suzuki. You could easily pick Lane Hudson, but I'm going Demidov. We don't know what he's probably moving around the lines throughout this series, unless Montreal just keeps winning right off the bat. I think he'll be moving around. I think he's going to get at least a couple of games up with Suzuki and Caulfield. We're going to see what that looks like. Uh, yeah, yeah. I think he could get 2 points in 7 games, or he could get 10 in 6. Like we really don't know what he's going to do, but
No,
He's got nasty hands.
that's a good pick because yeah, we really don't fully know what to expect from him, especially in the playoffs. Kind of the opposite of Jeff Skinner. Only 2 games under his belt, and he's off to the playoffs. Whereas Jeff Skinner, like we mentioned, had to play over 1,000 to finally get there. Um,
Yeah. Some guys have
I'm
all
going
the
with
luck.
Nick Suzuki. Um, top
Okay.
point scorer for the Canadians, 89 points in 82 games, did hit 30 goals. This is a guy who, we always knew how good he was,
He should be a Selke
both
finalist this year.
offensively, both in like you just mentioned there in the 2-way game in the defensive zone. A guy though that despite how good we knew he was, a lot of people were always wondering, is he a first line center? Is he a guy that, you can build around? And he's proven that you can. And to lead this team, captain this Montreal Canadiens team, like that's a big honor in itself there. Um, to
Yeah.
get them into the playoffs and to finally have his first crack in the playoffs. And now that we know that he is a first line center, he's a guy you can build a franchise around. I expect him to go out there and just leave it all out there. I think he's going to be the most noticeable across the entire race when you look at all 3 zones. He's
I
going to go out there
fully
and prove
expect
why
him to be this team's MVP.
yeah, he's going to go out there and prove why he's the captain, how he
I would
led
be
this team all
surprised if he
year, and
wasn't.
yeah. So I'm going Nick Suzuki. Maybe a little bit of an obvious pick, but again, like we
Yeah.
mentioned with this Montreal team, you could go in so many different directions. So
Yeah. Cole Caulfield could put up 7 goals in a series. Like Slavkovsky might break out. Line might just go crazy on the power play. Who knows what Lane Hutson's going to look like? Savard in his final few games here. If they don't win the series, he's done for his career. Like he's going to be leaving it all out there. Like yeah. There's a lot of great picks. I definitely think Suzuki's going to be this team's MVP, regardless, win or lose, unless Montembeault balls out. But
Montembeault's
I
been very
think
good this year.
I mean, if we're really going X Factor, I just could not pick Demidov because he could do nothing or he could carry the offense.
Yeah, no, that's very fair. Moving on to the other matchup in the Metropolitan Division, we have
they got to move him off of Laine's line though. I think they will, if they're on that line together, even if they're centered by Suzuki, I think they would get exposed. I think that would be.
That's what we said earlier when we knew he was coming over. We said you can't put them together. It's just not quick, especially in the playoffs.
Is what it says on Daily Faceoff, but I don't believe that is what they've ran for the most part. And I don't think they're going to do it in the playoffs.
Moving on over to the other Metro Division matchup, we have the number 2 seed Carolina Hurricanes against the number 3 seed New Jersey Devils. Tied the season series 2-2. Carolina is coming in pretty relatively healthy, as we did mention. They were resting a lot of guys for the playoffs here. With the New Jersey Devils, we obviously know the big one, no Jack Hughes for the series, the remainder of the year, and no Jonas Siegenthaler. Was rumored that he potentially be back for the playoffs. It does not sound like he is back just yet. So kind of day to day, I think mostly for the most part sounds like with Siegenthaler. So, but they do have Dougie Hamilton back. And other than that, clean bill of health for New Jersey.
Yeah, and I did not expect them to have Dougie Hamilton for this series.
Well, we knew he was coming back for playoffs. They said that like a month ago.
Yeah, I didn't expect him to get back in the regular season. Is the thing, right? Like him being back and playing a game or 2 in the regular season means he's good to go. And he's getting his legs. I thought he was going to come back game 1 of the playoffs, but it's like, what percentage of Dougie are we getting? He wants to play and they're going to let him in, but like, is he going to be a defensive liability? Is he going to be slower? But no, he's back and like he's looking like Dougie Hamilton. So I think that's huge for them. That being said, what team is going to be as good without their best offensive player? And these guys aren't the Dallas Stars. They do not have that level of depth. Like you lose Jack Hughes, Justin Dowling is now your third line center or your second line center right now listed here, which I doubt will be the case going in there. But they do not have scoring near as much throughout the lineup as some of these other teams. this Carolina team, like, routinely getting deeper into these playoffs the past few years. Logan Stankoven's been a great pickup for them. Like, I know a lot of people are saying, like, in the future that'll be good for him, but like right now it's been pretty good for him. He hasn't been as good as, a Mikko Rantanen would be, but he's been scoring some some pretty nice goals as of late. And I think he's only moving up the lineup from here. But man, they've got a lot of great guys over here in Carolina. This Carolina team's so annoying, man. They got a lot of good contracts and they got a lot of great young guys coming up too. Like, on top of how good they've been, like I said, they've already been making the playoffs in the last few years. They got Jackson Blake coming up. They got Logan Stankoven. They got freaking what's his name on the blue line coming over. They got Alexander Nikishin, like, probably joining at some point in the playoffs. Man, this team's gonna be annoying for a decade. And I just can't see them losing in this matchup. I just really can't. Like, maybe if the goaltending goes crazy for the Devils, if Markstrom just absolutely balls out, but no, I got to go with the Carolina Hurricanes, and I'm gonna say, I mean, what other matchups do we got to talk about left? We just got 2 left.
Yeah,
I think this is my pick for a sweep. There's a good chance it probably goes 5 instead, but I'm gonna pick a sweep. Like, I think the Hurricanes are already the favorite, and then you take out the best player on the not favored team. That's just a lot to overcome.
yeah, I'm right there with you. I got Carolina in 5.
Yeah,
Carolina does have the best penalty kill in the league. New Jersey has the second best power play, so that's going to be fun watching those two sides go head to head.
second best power play without Jack Hughes. That's crazy.
Which is pretty impressive.
That's nuts.
But again, like we said, it's tough without your best player in Jack Hughes, the guy that drives the offense for that team. Not having him, still a good team.
I probably wouldn't.
It's
Is there an argument that he comes back the second best?
no,
Do you think? Maybe not potential wise, but right now,
no.
Jesper Bratt's been really
Jesper
freaking
Bratt's been
good.
really good, but Jack Hughes, when healthy and when he's on his game, is
Yeah.
and again, it's no disrespect to Jesper Bratt. It's
Yep.
we know what Jack Hughes is capable
Yeah.
of when healthy.
I think we both knew the answer, but he's getting to the point where you can try and make an argument.
You can, yeah, and
that's how good he is.
Huge in itself.
Because
Yeah,
he's been
I
crazy
do
this year.
think with this still the offensive power that New Jersey has them with their blue line. I think they're still able. I think they're going to come out and they're going to stomp Carolina in one game. And it's not like, they squeak out a game overtime. Like, I think they win like a 5-1, a 6-1 game or something. And then I think the rest is just Carolina again, just a much deeper team. Best defensive defenseman in the league in Jacob Slavin. He proved that in the Four Nations. That's going to carry over into the playoffs. The forward core is so deep, so young. They do have they have Nikishin, who's on his way to rally right now. So don't know if he's going to play when he
work
plays,
visa.
What the situation is there, but having him in your back pocket to maybe slot in is pretty cool for Carolina as well. So again, it's just tough for New Jersey. Really, like you bring in Sheldon Keefe. You've got a healthy team coming into the season. You beefed up your blue line. You get a goalie finally in Jacob Markstrom. But at the end of the day, it's just such a good Carolina team, and without Jack Hughes, it's tough. So I'm going Carolina in 5 for this one.
Yeah, that's fair, and
it's tough
for argument's sake. Say, let's do a little big brain here. Let's say Jack Hughes doesn't get injured this year. What did Jesper Bratt put up 88 points this year? Let's say Jack Hughes put up, what do you think, 90, 95 points? Let's say he plays 80 games, he puts up 95 points. What would your prediction for the series be?
Honestly, I think I'd still go Carolina, but it'd probably be Carolina in 7.
I was gonna say, I think it probably that one ad. He's so dynamic that probably adds 2 games. Like, yeah, I was thinking Carolina in 6, maybe 7 if they were hot down the stretch.
Yeah,
Like,
because like Carolina in 5, but I don't think it's like a steamroll where they like dominate. Like I think they probably win a game in overtime. They probably win a game by 1 goal or maybe 2 because they get an empty netter. Like I think it's still going to be a close series, but I think Carolina's just going to find a way to, if they have a lead, lock it down, and New Jersey doesn't get one. Or we've seen Carolina before getting some of those late greasy goals to win games. So just because I have Carolina in 5 doesn't mean that they're dominating these games. And I think Jack Hughes and his, his
that
offensive
clutch
ability
gene.
would be enough to get a late goal, or he could get that tying goal or something, and maybe they squeak a game out in overtime or something. So I
Yeah,
think Jack Hughes extends it, but um, I
that's
just don't
fair.
think to the point
That's
where
what I think.
where they beat Carolina.
Yep. And realistically, I kind of do think, yeah, it'll probably go like 5, but I have not picked a sweep yet, and I think this is the only series where I would pick a sweep. So, at least one pretty much happens almost every year. So, like,
That's kind of why I threw that little thing
I'm
in with
I'm gonna
Washington,
go for a
Montreal.
sweep in this one.
Yeah, because I don't have a sweep, but we do know that there's probably going to be one. We're always like, oh, there can't be one. All these teams are evenly matched. There's always a sweep somewhere.
Yeah, and I will
Some
say
team just
there.
gets hot
I
at the
think
right
the
time.
worst
One team
teams in the
gets
playoffs
cold.
this year are better than most years, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I would
the
agree.
best teams are really freaking good as well. So,
Really good.
good chance we'll still see one
X factor for New Jersey.
for New Jersey. Uh, you could pick the goalie. Even well, it's kind of hard. I gotta go with Jesper Bratt, um, or Brat, as I'm told it's pronounced. Uh, yeah, he's just the best player on the Devils right now. He's just been going crazy, even without his line mate in Jack Hughes. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a
I don't.
couple other guys you could pick, but I think he's right up there.
I'm going Sheldon Keefe. No, no. I'm going Jacob Markstrom. Um,
That's good.
Goaltending was the biggest thing New Jersey needed. They got it in Jacob Markstrom. If they want a chance in this series, it's going to come down to, you know, Jacob Markstrom's going to have to put up a 920, but a 2.1 goals against. Like he's going to have to put up some insanely high numbers, I think, to give New Jersey a chance and prove, hey, you are our big offseason investment. Going out and getting you. Now's your time to prove it here for us. Is it's the one thing New Jersey's really needed the last couple years more than anything, and they got it, and now they need to prove that hey, goaltending is what we needed to put us over the hump. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great
um,
pick as well. I was a little bit tempted to pick Andre Palat just because we've seen him be such a gamer in the playoffs. Um, but you know, I'm trying to imagine him carving through the Carolina defense the same way he did sometimes against the Rangers, and uh, those are 2 very different squads, very different
mhm.
defensive cores. I don't think he can pull that kind of stuff against Slavin too often.
And that's exactly who my pick is for Carolina is Jacob Slavin. What we saw him do in the Four Nations for the Americans in those big games, making those defensive plays was absolutely incredible to watch. It was so much fun watching him in those games, and I think he's going to go out there and do exactly just that in this series. He's very good chance he ends the series with 0 points. Um, but you're not expecting the points from him. You're expecting the lockdown defensive game and to completely shut down the top players on New Jersey's team. Like his job is going to be whenever Jesper Bratt's line is out there, you go out there and shut them down.
Yeah,
And if
he
there's anyone
he
who
is
can do
probably the
that,
player in the
that's
league
him.
the most that his counting stats are the least important. He's probably
Yeah,
the single most different player on the ice watching him compared to what you read on HockeyDB looking at his stat line. Like unless you've got, expected goals and all that stuff, then it's not telling the whole story. It's just not.
yeah.
And that's a great pick. Probably the guy who's going to have some of the most impact on this series. I, however, am going with rookie Jackson Blake. This guy is gonna piss people off in the Metro for a long time. Like I've been paying attention more and more to him over the last uh, month and a half ish, and this guy is not only scoring goals, putting up assists, he's doing them in highlight reel ways. He's fighting through several guys to make that pass. Like this man, he is a dog. Like he in a lot of ways, his game kind of reminds me of a young Gabriel Landeskog type. Like I think as soon as next season he could be a mainstay in that top six. Like stapled to it, he's not moving.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah,
think I think he's
I
going
don't
to be
hate
one of their
that pick
best
at all.
forwards.
I quite like that pick. I think he's really excelled and really come into his own, especially in the later portion of the year. So um, yeah, without guys like Marty Natchez and then Mikko Rantanen, who they had to move on from, they're gonna need someone to kind of fill those bigger roles now, and he's definitely a guy that
Yeah.
can do so.
17 goals, 17 assists in 80 games this year.
Yeah. Um, moving on over to the Atlantic Division. First matchup, we got the number one seed in that division, the Toronto Maple Leafs, going up against the one wild card spot in the Ottawa Senators. Ottawa did win the season series 3-0 over the Toronto Maple Leafs. We have the Battle of Ontario, I believe the first time since 2004, I think is what it
It's
was.
been a long time.
Yeah, I think 2004. So we are getting it. It is Ottawa's first time back in the playoffs since the rebuild, going up against the regular season juggernaut in the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's going to be a good series. I'm really looking forward to this one. I think potentially, maybe not the most. I think still probably Dallas, Colorado, but definitely looking forward a lot to this series.
Yeah,
What is your
These two
prediction?
Atlantic matchups are going to be crazy.
Yeah,
For this
we're
one,
getting good. We're eating good here this year.
yeah. For these final two, do you want to go first for the predictions for what you think you're going to do?
Yeah, I got no problem for that. Toronto, Ottawa.
Yeah,
I love it.
it's going to
I'm
be a
sorry,
fun
Toronto.
series.
I'm going Ottawa on 7.
He's going for it. He's
Um,
crazy.
really, this comes down to who's the better team? Toronto. Who's the team that wants it more? Honestly, I think Ottawa. This is an Ottawa team that has been starved to get back in the playoffs for years, and really comes down to there is zero pressure on Ottawa. They're just happy to be in. That's all that mattered. That means they're taking a step in the right direction. For Toronto, this is everything. Potentially your last year with the core four. You might lose Marner for nothing in free agency. If you keep him, you're going to have to pay him, especially after first time he's hit 100 points in his career. Congrats to Mitch Marner for that.
I
Um,
don't even know if John Tavares is sticking around necessarily. We can all make
I think
we can all
I
make
think
assumptions
so,
for sure,
but
but
we
you
don't.
know,
Yeah, we don't know for sure.
we
He
thought
doesn't have a
Stamkos would
contract.
stay. We thought Patrick Kane would stay. Like it, stranger things have happened.
Yeah.
And he's putting up a great season. Like he could make some money going somewhere else as well.
But yeah, I'm going with Ottawa on 7 in the series. I definitely think Toronto's got solid goaltending in Stolars, who I think should be their starter.
I think he will
In
be.
game 1 and for the series. Ottawa's got the better goaltending in Linus Ullmark. If we know if we got a little bit of a preview of what a playoff Brady Tkachuk could be like in the Four Nations, I think he's going to be exactly just that, out there hitting anything and everything in sight. And we know that Toronto doesn't have the physicality to go up against a Brady Tkachuk. It's a very skilled Ottawa team, very skilled Toronto team too. But Ottawa's playing with house money. They're just happy to be there, and all the spotlight, all the pressure is on Toronto. That you can make their argument with this core four. Aside from the COVID years, this is the easiest first round matchup that they've gotten. You're not having to go up against Florida. You're not having to go up against Tampa. You're not having to go up against Boston for once. And I think it's just gonna hurt them. So I'm going Ottawa in 7. I think it's gonna be a fantastic series. But an Ottawa team that's just happy to be there and can leave it all on the line. I think they're going to find a way to pull this one out.
Yeah. No, I definitely get it, and it's so weird trying to predict Toronto's matchups specifically because you have to take into the fact that they're the Toronto Maple Leafs. This just happens to them. It's just weird. We don't get to know why, it just happens. That said, I think this is a very different team than what we've seen. I think I think I don't want to throw you under the bus too much, but I think it's just straight up a false narrative that they're still this soft team that they were.
I'm not saying they're soft, but I'm saying in comparison to Ottawa.
I think they will be the ruder team of this series. I think under Craig Berube, these are a bunch of bastards. And
it definitely does help Toronto having Craig.
The Sens are pretty rude. Like, no discrediting to them, but I think the Leafs, I think they're playing playoff style hockey. They're not playing the Sheldon Keefe high flying, go for the presidents. They're playing go for the cup hockey. And they got a deep freaking forward core. They got a pretty good blue line. They don't have that number one defenseman, but they got quite a few good guys back there. They still got Tanev. Morgan Rielly, this has been one of his worst years in the regular season in recent memory, but at the same time, we know this guy's a gamer of the playoffs. Brandon Carlo's pretty solid as well. I'm going Leafs, and I'm going Leafs in 5.
Ooh.
And this whole season I've been higher on the Sens. Man, Joseph Wool's been pretty good. Stolarz has been great. Like, I was saying it as soon as they signed him, like, this is going to be one of the most underrated signings in the offseason. Stolarz did exactly what I figured he would in Toronto. And I didn't know if he would steal the starting job, but I thought he was going to make it an elite tandem. But he's kind of taking the starting job in the last couple of weeks. I think he's the starter for the playoffs, and I just see this team just kind of running through the Sens based on skill. Like, they have a good team in Ottawa. They have a good team in Ottawa, but I might feel differently if Brady Tkachuk hadn't been sitting for 2 months. I don't think he's fully healthy coming in. And I think he is frankly not going to be able to control himself. And I think he's going to push himself too hard. And I think whatever injury he has probably doesn't get better. I think it gets worse before it does. And I think you need a guy like Brady Tkachuk 100% going into the playoffs to be able to win against a team like this. Yeah, I'm looking at their lineup, and like every time I see something where I'm like, that's where they can beat the Leafs, I'm like, well, the guys they got on the other side, they have the people to deal with it. Linus Ullmark could be great. I mean, Stolarz can hold his own, and is Ullmark's great. Can he beat Nylander, Matthews, Marner? Like, Brady Tkachuk, hell, even a guy like Matthew Nyes. Matthew Nyes is low key, like, freaking one of the nastiest, best power forwards in the game at the moment. He is so good.
We'll say Linus Ullmark has beaten Toronto in the playoffs before, though.
Oh boy,
he has shut down those top guys.
You know what? Fair point. But I'm going Leafs in 5, and you know what?
Yeah,
it's the Leafs.
Very well could
if
happen.
They lose in 7, I won't be shocked. Right? It's hard to be, but yeah, this is a win year for them, as it is every year.
This is the biggest year for them, no doubt. X factors for this series. I guess I'll go first. I'll start with Ottawa. It is Brady Tkachuk, the captain. But this is a guy that
I agree.
Has for years been saying, preaching how he wants to get to the playoffs. He's sick of missing. He's watched his brother go to back-to-back Cup finals. He's watched his brother win the Stanley Cup and didn't really get to partake in a lot of the stuff with the family because he didn't want to touch the cup. He didn't want to really be around it too much, as he wants to earn the right and the moment to get to do so, and that's totally understandable. And again, we saw the intensity, we saw the way he played in the Four Nations. I expect him to carry exactly that type of play over to being in the playoffs now. He's finally getting his crack at it, and he's gonna leave it all out there. This is his, the biggest thing with the NHL is you could be one of the best players in the league, but you never know when you're going to get back to the playoffs. And that's going to be their mindset is, yeah, we're in this year. Let's enjoy it, but let's also not take it for granted is could very well miss the next 5 years after this year. So for them, it's leave it all out there, and especially for a guy like Brady Tkachuk, who is one of the most passionate guys in the league. And
yeah,
he's not going to take this for granted. It's going to be play every playoff game like it's the last one of your career.
Yeah. And I've got him as my X factor as well. I agree, and that's kind of the part where I'm wondering if it'll be his downfall. Like he's gonna play this like he never gets to play the game again. Every game
but it's not.
he's out there.
But it's not like he's gonna go out there and be dirty and cheap and
no, I don't think he gets suspended. I think
and whatnot though.
No, I think he's already injured because he played a few games like that in the Four Nations, and I think he's gonna leave it out all the line. If I had to pick a guy from either of these teams for one Game 7, I'm picking Brady Tkachuk. But if we're picking for the series, I don't know if he'll be able to keep up with it already not being 100%.
Yeah, that's fair.
And yeah, you hate to say, like, I don't like bringing stuff into the picks very much, but yeah, his passion is gonna, I think, gonna run over and not yield the exact results he wants. But so yeah, I'm also going with Brady Tkachuk for the Senators. But for the Maple Leafs, an embarrassment of riches. You could pick so many guys. Like a couple guys you could pick on the blue line. Honestly, you could pick either goaltender. Probably would go Stolars over Wool, but like either really could. Any of the core four and a few more forwards you could pick. Like it's between two guys. I'm gonna go with Matthew Nyes. I think he's been so good down the stretch. I think I have to go with Nyes. He's been great defensively, amazing offensively. He plays a playoff style game. Plus, he wasn't really around full time for the Sheldon Keefe era, right? He showed up a little bit at the end. So like he really doesn't have that kind of stuff to overcome in his mind and kind of reset how he plays. The vast majority now of his NHL career is Craig Berube hockey. And Craig Berube is, he's a pretty good head coach. As soon as you're talking about playoffs, like he's one of the best.
Mm-hmm. Yep, for literally every reason you just said, that's exactly why my pick is Matthew Nyes for this series. I can't really add much more onto what you said there.
Yeah. I was very close to picking John Tavares as well.
I
think he's going to come up huge.
You could go with so many guys, especially that core four. But yeah, this is a series I think I am looking forward to the most. I think it's going to be it's just going to be a fantastic series, and obviously any series that has Toronto is going to have a lot of eyes on it. So and rightfully so. I mean, Battle of Ontario, haven't got it in so long, can't go wrong with it. Moving on to the final matchup in the first round, we have the Tampa Bay Lightning against the Florida Panthers. Tampa Bay having home ice advantage in the series. Season series was a 2-2 split. With the Florida Panthers, we do know that Matthew Tkachuk should be back and good to go for Game 1, start of the playoffs here. And we do know that Aaron Ekblad is still serving that suspension and will return for Game 3. And Tampa Bay, I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe coming in with a pretty full, healthy roster.
For the most
part, I think Oliver
part,
Bjorkstrand's a little bit banged up, but I think
Bjorkstrand is labeled week to week.
Okay, so
it's John Cooper. We don't know what that means. He could be in Game 1. He might not play in these playoffs. Like as soon as an injury happens in the last 10 to 15 games of the year, unless he's only missing a single game, like we they keep a lid on it. You have no idea.
Yeah.
Mitchell Chafee, a depth guy, but he took a nasty headshot. I haven't heard any rumors of a concussion. If it's not a concussion, I don't think there would be really any injuries to keep him out long term. Glendening, I don't think he's injured. I think he's just been out because we don't lean him in the lineup right now.
Mm.
His plays slipped a little bit. I think he's like 30, 34, 35. If we get dominated in the faceoff dot, we might see him show up. Or if somebody else is so bad they get pulled out of the lineup. Other than that, I don't know if we see him draw in. Tampa loves running the 7D. They've been doing 7 defensemen since like January at this point. So yeah, I think they're probably going for the 7D until it stops working.
Yeah.
But man, this Atlantic division is wild. The Battle of Ontario, the Battle of Florida. This Battle of Florida is going to go crazy. Like, in the past, Tampa's had the clear advantage over Florida in a lot of those series. And then, last year, Florida came in. They had a lot of momentum. They had just gone to the Cup final. We came off our loss against Toronto, and they beat us. So this year feels like the most even matched that we've had between these two teams.
Yeah, this is the Colorado Dallas of the East. Two teams that are both juggernauts, and you can make a very clear and hard to argue argument for both teams of whoever wins this series is going to the Cup final, and one of them, well, they're going to have to go round one. It's just two juggernauts going up head to head round one. Battle of Florida is always very exciting, especially when both teams are, at the level that they're at now. It's not a top team in the East and then a wild card. It's they're both in divisional spots, and they're both absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
And you want me to go first? Sorry for the prediction here.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
It's tough not to pick Florida. Back-to-back Stanley Cup finals, coming off a Stanley Cup.
It's hard to blame
Tampa.
anybody picking the defending
I'm
Cup
going
champs.
Tampa Bay in 6. This Florida team just feels weird. I think they are very good, but I think they've definitely taken a step back from last year. Obviously, having Brandon Montour definitely hurts their blue line. Yeah, you did bring in Seth Jones, but he's not a top pair guy, and he's kind of having to be forced to be a number one defenseman right now, kind of for this Panthers team. Having Ekblad out for games 1 and 2 also definitely does hurt. You're just not seeing the offensive numbers from their top guys as previous years. Bobrovsky's still going to be a stud in net. You don't have to worry about him if you're Florida. Matthew Tkachuk's going to come back and maybe be a little bit banged up, but we've seen him play through worse injuries. So I don't think that's going to necessarily slow him down, at least in the first round. But everything's just been going right for this Tampa team. You do have the Art Ross winner in Nikita Kucherov. You've got just amazing talent around him, whether it's Braden Point, Gensel, Sorelli, Hagel. And on the blue line, you still got Victor Hedman. You've got Ryan McDonough. You've got the studs back there. And the biggest thing, you have
I can't
Andre
believe McDonough hasn't aged at all. Like, I thought he might have dropped off a little bit since the last time we saw him in a Bolts jersey at the start of the year. He looks the exact same, if not better. Like,
that's how it works with those guys, though, when they're not a defenseman that is built around their skating, right? Like, McDonough's never been the greatest skater. He gets by his hockey IQ, his positioning. He knows where to be. He knows when to cheat if he has to.
So
he knows
many
when
shots,
to fall back.
And he's physical. Like, he just hit over 2,000 blocked shots the other day. I think he's like the 7th or 8th defenseman to get there since they started counting the stat. Like,
as long as Ryan McDonough
you would just
can
figure at
stand on
like his
2
age,
feet,
he would, eventually
as long as he
fall
can
off
stand on
from
his
those,
2 feet when his hockey sense and positioning, he's going to keep doing what he's been doing.
Yeah,
that's the
crazy.
beauty
You love to see it.
Players like that. But I'm going with Tampa Bay in 6. This is a series that could easily go 7. Series that Florida could easily win in 6 or in 7. But the
This
way
is one of the
Tampa
few
Bay's been
series
going,
I
it's
can't
just
really see going. I can't see a sweep, and I really have a tough time imagining it ending in 5 either. I
yeah,
think it's
I
6 or
can't see
7 is
going
on the
ending in
menu.
5. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So I'm
I
going Tampa
I'm in
in 6
total
here.
agreement. I'm going Tampa in 6 as well. I think we've just done such an incredible job of retooling and patching the holes that we needed to this year. Some guys have stepped up for us in a big way as well, and you know the Panthers, they lost a couple of really good players last offseason, and they've even had some guys, Mackie Samoskevich especially, like really step into a nice new role for the team. But you know those those guys, the Brandon Montours that they lost, that's a big piece for them. Uh, Tampa having home ice advantage and Aaron Eck for 2 games, and Aaron Ekblad being out for those 2 games. Tampa needs to, at minimum, be 1-1 going into Florida. But obviously, it would be huge for them to be able to come out of the first 2 games with 2 wins. Yeah, this this Tampa team's just got something special going on with the way their forwards and decor is lined up. And Vasi had the offseason to rest, train up. He's looking back and better than ever. Like I yeah. I'm so excited. I'm nervous, but I am very excited for this playoff run.
And it's no fault of Florida's. I mean, you went to a cup final and then you won one. But I think, as we've seen with these teams, those really short off seasons, especially now more than ever with how late the playoffs goes, those shorter off seasons, like it really eventually does catch up to the players. Maybe that's why we've seen a lot of guys on Florida maybe take a bit of a step back this year as a pair
Yeah.
as opposed to
Matthew
like the
Kachuk
past years.
especially.
Is
He's
um
he's
yeah,
not
just
playing near as many games as he'd like.
yeah, they just worn out, just tired. Sam Reinhart led the team in goals with 39. No one else on the team put up 30 or more goals on there. Next closest was Sam Bennett with 25 in 76 games. And that is exactly who my X factor is. Florida Panthers is Sam Bennett. He's on the last year of his contract. Um, don't know if he's going to be staying in Florida, if he's going to be signing elsewhere. I do expect him to get paid. This is a guy that is a playoff guy. This is a guy that is great in the regular season, but come playoffs with his play style, with his build, his physicality, he hits that next level. And he proved exactly that in the Four Nations
Yeah.
when people said he shouldn't be on Team Canada. Well, he scored in the gold medal game, the championship game to tie it. Great shot. He proved right there. That's why he's on the team. He was fourth line center, but in the biggest game of the tournament for his country, he scored. You can make the argument the second biggest goal in that tournament for Canada. And so I think he's going to go out there with a lot to prove, especially again. He doesn't know if they're down 3-2 in the series game 6, it could be the last time he's putting on that Panthers jersey. Game 7 could be the last time he's putting on a Panthers jersey. So kind of want to go Brad Marchand just because that'd be fun. But
Yeah.
Sam
He's a
Bennett,
very
I
tempting
think
pick.
just what we've seen this year from him, regular season Four Nations and previous playoff runs, this is a guy that you just can't not root for him. He's one of those guys just like, man, you maybe hate when your team plays against him, but when your team's not playing against you, you're just watching him. He's just such a treat to watch out there.
Yeah. No, that's a great pick. And yeah, it's one of those teams. There's a lot of guys you could pick. Bobrovsky would be a great shout as well. An obvious one being Alexander Barkov. He'd probably be my second pick. But I think mine has to be Carter Verhaeghe. Just an absolute killer in the playoffs. Like, this guy elevates his game so much above what he does in the regular season every playoffs, and he finds ways to score those incredibly clutch goals, and he loves showing up against Tampa. Any player playing against a team that they've been on before, like, immediately, like, their odds of doing well are doubled, in my opinion. Like, they just always seem to. And
Mm-hmm.
he is absolutely no exception to that. As much as Barkov also has played very well historically against Tampa, I'm going Verhaeghe.
Yeah. And then for Tampa, I'm going with Brandon Hagel. Tampa Bay, you can easily make the argument they got the best first line in the league. It is going to be tough for them when you're going to have that top line is going to be matched up constantly against the Barkov line. We saw what Barkov's line was able
This
to
could
do
be a
to,
coach's series
you know,
for sure.
McDavid and crew last year in the Stanley Cup final and in all the previous matchups. So Tampa's going to need to get some depth scoring, and Hagel's exactly the guy that comes to mind. They're gonna need him to be, whether it's a goal per game guy in the series or on a 1.5 point per pace, they're going to need him to, and it's all going to be 5-on-5 because he doesn't score on the power play. They're going to need him to really provide a lot of offense outside of that top line, and there's not many better guys that can do that than him, based on everything we've seen across this season.
Yeah, and you know what? That's a really good pick. I love it. Hagel, I mean, career high 35 goals and 90 points this season. Like, just absolutely unreal year for him. Um, he it's difficult because I genuinely don't know if two coaches are trying to line match each other. I would love to watch some sort of, I'm sure, like, hockey psychology on YouTube, or someone has a great breakdown of it, but how you try and win line matchups, like, because at a certain point you can't swap your lines, right? You can't be sitting there looking over at their line and be like, go out. No, don't go out there. Send that. Like, at some point the refs like fucking play the game. And so
Well, the home
I
team
genuinely
does
don't
get
know how that
the
goes out.
second change, so that's why home ice
That is
advantage is kind of huge. So,
okay.
Florida sends out their line, then Tampa gets to go. So that having
Interesting.
home ice advantage definitely does help.
Yeah, and so at the very least, for the games where Tampa is the home team, they're going to be doing their best to line match Hagel, Sorelli, and whoever they choose up against that top Barkov line, not only to shut them down, but so that our top line doesn't have to deal with them. But that's probably, like what you said, the way it's going every game in Florida, and that we'll see who can out defend or outscore who, but. There's a lot of guys I would love to pick, but it's impossible for me to not pick this man. I'm going Andrei Vasilevsky. Um, we are 3 years removed from him in a playoff series against this team, not the same team, but the Florida Panthers, putting up 4 wins and 3 goals against in a series. He had 3 goals against in all 4 games, and like he is a guy who can absolutely take over an entire series like that, and he has looked like that guy this year. Like, he's been
Hmm.
absolutely incredible. He's got like a 938 or a 940 since January or something like that. Like, if Tampa wants to win in these playoffs, Vasilevsky has to be the best goaltender in the world.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a very very great pick, um, as well. There can't argue much against that. We are pretty much at the tail end of the episode here. That is all of our first round matchup predictions. Again, if you want to see our full in-depth brackets, be sure to check over the socials at some point. They will be up before the start of the playoffs of Game 1 tomorrow. So keep an eye over there, and you can see our full predictions there for everything. But we did say at the beginning of the episode that we are going to wrap it up this way. We are going to give our Stanley Cup Finals predictions and who we think will win the cup here. So do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first for who we got in the Stanley Cup Finals?
I'm okay going first. I'll give it a shot here. I think that out of the West, uh, we're going to see the Avalanche back in the finals. This team is just nasty. They feel like the team to beat. I wouldn't hate a Winnipeg selection, but yeah, it's one of those things where the Avs are one of those teams where uh, if they lose, okay, but like, I'll see it. I'll believe it when I see it. And they've been so dominant since the trade deadline. Um, on the East side, you know what? Call me a homer. I'm going Tampa.
Homer.
Sure. That's okay.
That is exactly the matchup I have. I have the Colorado Avalanche and the Tampa Bay Lightning in the Stanley Cup final, and I firmly believe that whatever the final matchup is, it is going to be a team from that central side or the Atlantic. If Dallas beats Colorado, it's probably Dallas. If Florida beats Tampa, it's probably Florida. Very good chance if Toronto beats out Ottawa, very good chance that it could be Toronto going all the way.
I was gonna
But I
say
am going to go with Colorado and Tampa. Though.
Yeah, to give one answer just that isn't my team, just because it's easy to pick your own team. If it's not Tampa, I think it's the Leafs. I do think
Ooh.
if Tampa doesn't make it, it ends up being Toronto in the finals, and I can't even begin to picture what that would look like.
That would be crazy. And then obviously the final thing, the biggest one of all, who do you have as your Stanley Cup winner this season?
Who do I have as the Stanley Cup winner? I mean, if I'm assuming it's Tampa versus Colorado, just bringing up Colorado's lines. I'm just comparing some of the depth because we know that's where it ends up often mattering. I'm going the Tampa Bay Lightning. You can call me a homer again. Sure.
Yeah, I already said it once. I'll leave it there. My Stanley Cup final winner that I'm picking is the Colorado Avalanche. I think having those two teams, if those are the two teams in the finals, I think is an incredible matchup. For me, it really is just the depth of Colorado and what they're able to put out, especially assuming that they do have Nichushkin for the entirety of the playoffs. Landeskog comes back and is healthy. It just makes them a really deep, complete team.
Yeah, these are their lineups without Landeskog as well. Good Lord.
Having those two teams in the finals would be an incredible matchup, and I think Colorado would squeak it out just barely. Whatever team would win, that would just barely squeak it out. But I think Colorado would.
Yeah, and you know what? That's incredibly fair. Like they're a hard team to bet against, man. In general, they are, but man, they did a great job of retooling on the fly this year. Just all their retooling they didn't do shit in the offseason, man. Did they make any moves that anyone cares about in the offseason?
Not really.
Look at all these guys that they got, man. These all happened in the year. Landeskog, Ryan Lindgren, freaking Nichushkin came back. They went out and they got Nelson during the season, Charlie Coyle, Marty Necas. Like all their additions were mid-season. They didn't do any of it in the offseason. Mackenzie Blackwood as well. Like, yeah. All their moves were mid-season. Like that's low key. They their GM should probably be in the running for GM of the year. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was an insane
as they came up. He just dealt with it.
Yeah. But that is wraps up our.
It was a long episode.
Yeah, it was a long one. I've already been dealing with a little bit of a sore throat, kind of losing my voice. Holding on to it here at the very end here. But it is going to be an incredible playoffs. We have a lot of incredible matchups. Again, if you want to see our full predictions and full brackets, they will be over on the socials. Feel free to come over and check them out and let us know your thoughts. Who you think is going to win the cup? Braden, as always, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. These playoffs are going to be freaking box office. Like we do not like how they pick the matchups. Most people don't at this point. We would prefer to see a new format, but begrudgingly, the format this year is giving us awesome matchups. Like these are going to be so fun to watch. Watch as many games as you can. Just watch as many games as you can.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. We're going to get lots of we already have a lot of fantastic first round matchups, and we're going to get a lot more in the second, third round, and then eventually a Stanley Cup final. Make sure to come back next week for Tuesday's episode. We will be covering the first few games of the Stanley Cup playoffs, along with reviewing our regular season predictions, kind of a little bit of a regular season wrap up in that one. So make sure to keep an eye out for that one. But as always, we hope you guys enjoyed the playoffs as much as we are going to. And as always, we will see all of you guys out on the ice next week.